Hey guys, Airy Skies here. So, been doing some research. As you all know, I try to do my live videos for you all, mostly for Zoe and for Piper. But there's something that I want to talk about that's very important, okay? A couple things. One is the Ukrainian war. Two is the election. Alright. Now, you guys sit there and you say stuff like, oh, well, it's not our war, let Ukraine and Russia handle it. I agree. It's like we got involved because of supposedly Osama bin Laden and his cronies took out the World Tower Center. So we spent 20 years in giving the military-industrial complex more money, right? And what good is that, right? Now, people like my father-in-law say, "Oh, well, we're beating back Russia. What's a good thing?" Maybe, maybe not. You see, a lot of people look to me on my channel, as Zoe said tonight on the live feed, that I open people's eyes. Now, my theory is this, and I've said this time and time again. It's only my theory, so take it with a grain of salt. We got 2 weeks from today, election. You got every news agency out there pitting it against each other. Democrats versus Republicans. Republicans versus Democrats. Oh, well, if the Democrats win, we're going to civil war. Big deal. Who cares? They can't coordinate. Then you have the people like my beautiful moderator, Fanny. Red Wave. I'm not going to say yay or nay, okay? I'm not here to talk about who's going to win and why. We have 14 days. My point is, I'm getting drunk no matter what on election night. Win, lose, or draw, okay? That's the thing, but I will be managing from 4 a.m., I think, or 5 a.m., to when the elections are called. Hopefully they're all called in the United States. Because, you got two people talking about democracy. What is democracy, in your opinion? Ask that yourself. Is democracy putting everyone to work and telling them to earn their keep? Or is democracy, in your eyes, handing freeloading bums money? I mean, each of you know what democracy is in your heart. Ask yourself, what is democracy, and vote for what your heart tells you. But you say, well, so they say if the Republicans win, no more funding Ukraine. Good deal. As you all know, I'm a big person of wasteful spending. I'm one of those that I am opposed by wasteful spending. I'm one of those that an advocate that don't spend money is wasteful spending. Now, on the other hand, the United States currently has 4,700 plus 101st Airborne, also known as the Screaming Eagles, from Fort Bragg. They haven't brought in anything from the sniper school at Fort Benning, Georgia, or the Green Berets out of Fort Bragg either. So they just brought in the Airborne. They haven't called in the United States Special Warfare Unit, the Navy SEALs, Naval Special Warfare Unit, yet. Or the Force Reconnaissance from the Marine Corps. They haven't brought in any of these. They just got the Army Airborne. Why? Well, let's just say the Navy controls the SEALs and Force Recon, supposedly. The Army controls Airborne and Green Berets and Delta Force, okay? And whatever else. Right? So if you look at our special forces, we got 4,700, probably all of our Airborne division, mostly over there. They're just waiting. They're just waiting for the right moment. Now think of it. We're on a time. This election and this Ukrainian war thing is literally a ticking time bomb, okay? Don't say, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about, Rita. I do, because I stay up till 6, 7 in the morning praying like hell that we don't get attacked or we don't hear the news while I'm sleeping. Chloe's got a rule. She basically commands the morning. If she sees anything on the news feeds that state something happens. Hell, I've given Zoe my phone number. She should get it again. If there is something, she can call me like, Rita, they hit Ukraine, I mean, we're literally a team. Now, Zoe's right. Is Ukraine literally winning? I don't think so. I think the media is keeping it quiet. Literally, they're keeping everything quiet. Think of YouTube, for example. YouTube, quote unquote, is censoring people. Think of it this way. I just watched the video tonight, right? Guy's kind of an idiot, but I was looking at things and thinking, he got the numbers wrong on the airborne. I had to look that up too. 4,700. Okay. But why are they on the Romanian border? By the way, the French military is there, including the French Foreign Legion, from what I understand. The Legion. So you got the French Foreign Legion, the French military, and French ground forces, and the 101st Airborne, also known as Screaming Eagles, right there on the border, ready to go. Doing live exercise. That's not a training exercise. We don't know. We haven't seen much news about why they're there. Did they say, oh, we're going to run in? This is the United States rattling the saber. Now, you could sit there and say to me, Rita, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. Really? Well, let's put it to you this way, then, if I don't know anything, okay? If I don't know anything, then why is everyone panicking with flooding the news with election crap, okay? I had to literally track down Ukrainian news because everyone's keeping a tight lid on it. Think about it. Why am I speaking this? Because it's easier to upload a video than it is to try to get on live. And this is important to me, okay? Important to me. 101st Airborne sitting there. French military, ground forces. You got Germany getting ready to deliver more expansive weapons. You got that new prime minister that Tony calls Prime Minister Dipshit. Billionaire. Tough choices. Yeah, he wants to pay out of Tony's taxpayers' dollar to send more stuff to Ukraine. But they're not talking about conscripting British or UK people. They're not talking about conscripting Canadians or Australia and New Zealand. No. The thing is Australia and New Zealand, they're floating the news. They're saying, okay, this is what's happening. But that's it. Here, I've said it time and time again. There's questions. You, the American people, have to ask these questions. Not now, tomorrow, maybe tonight, maybe the next day. But before election, before you put your ballot in the box, you got to ask yourself, will your vote to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party make a difference? Think about it. Think about it. Think of the things coming down the pipe, okay? We got the elections coming in 2 weeks' time. Actually, as of tomorrow, it will be in England time because it's currently it is approximately 11 o'clock in Chicago, and it's 12 o'clock in DC, okay? 12 o'clock, okay? What's that tell you? Tells you 13 days to go for election. They need to instigate and antagonize, because as long as the Democrats are in power, no, you know me, I am for fair elections. You could say, oh, Rita, you're a leftist. I'm not. I'm neutral. But if you're looking through my eyes, running the news channel for you, where's the news currently for Ukraine? There's nothing. Think about it. You get up in the morning, what do you see? Nothing. I got up this morning. What am I seeing? Nothing. Why am I not seeing anything? Because they turned it off. 101st Screaming Eagles are there. The 101st Airborne. 4,700. Everything else. And Higgins, you can watch my channels. You can subscribe to my channels. But don't send me any emails about fact-checking, okay? I've done my fact-checking, alright? Higgins always likes to poke the bear. But let's get to the point, okay? You got each party basically saying, well, you know, once we get into power, we're taking away everything, right? You got the Democrats basically slapping him in the face saying, vote blue. Thing is, you got to ask yourself, if you're a Democrat or Republican, what are you voting for? You're voting for no more handouts to the people? Is that what you call democracy? Or are you going to be voting for 5 cents off a gallon of gas and 30 cents off a can of soup? As that's what you get for your vote. Think about it. You got to ask yourself, what are you truly voting for? The Democrats, no offense, I was talking about Republicans. Democrats, vote. What are you voting for, huh? Voting for your female reproductions? Oh, you want rights? You want your rights? I mean, literally, we got 13 days to go in the election, okay, by Eastern Standard Time. 13 days. In the meantime, they're going to be throwing so much shit at each other between now and the 13 days for election. They're going to get closer and closer to not talking about what's important. And that is not your vote. They don't give a shit about your vote. Each party's trying to contain something. You see, I hear people say, well, you know, if you're voting Republican, you're going to let the Russians invade you. We got enough Republicans that own guns that are going to frickin' sit there and take down Russians if they come. Russians have heavier weapons, but I don't think the Russians are going to invade the United States. I don't think Putin's that insane, okay? It's not going to be a Red Dawn scenario. What I think is going to happen is that, personally, now, I'm not sympathetic towards the Russians, okay, or the Chinese, for that matter. But you have two war fronts coming up, and the United States is trying to get involved in all of it. You see, the president cannot win the White House unless there's a war, right? So let's just say president escalates a Ukrainian war, okay? It's not our war, but he's escalating it to be a noble man, Catholic noble man. So he goes and says, we gotta protect. Yes, I was throwing a paper towel roll so I could see how much food he's got. Protect the world. We gotta be the police of the world. So what's he doing? We gotta go and send our boys in to kill for Ukraine because, you know, either Russia dropped a nuke bomb or a dirty bomb, saying it was Ukraine that did it. And Ukraine's going to sit there and say, no, it was Russia that did the dirty bomb, that trigger things. The truth is, they're going to be pointing fingers. If I was acting as commander-in-chief, I would basically do this. I'd be like, my troops are staying home. You guys can nuke each other. I'm not going to sit there with my finger on the nuclear trigger and be like, I mean, look, World War III happens, it's over. They use a nuclear weapon, it's over. This is why I beg all of you to think, to prep. Prep like your life depends on it. Get your potassium iodide tablets. My cousin Dinky's like, oh, where do you need those? I'll be living comfortably while you might be radiated because you think everything's in my head. I've taken rent up. But you know what? Well, my cousin Dinky, and I'm going to be kind of bullshittish here, and not bullshittish, more of a non-sugarcoating. That's better. And I'm not going to bullshit anyone by saying, if my family thinks, oh, well, enjoy the ride, it's going to be a red wave. Fine. But I'm not worried about a fucking red wave. Most of you Americans out there are sitting there. We're getting closer and closer to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and yet that's all we're worried about. Dad says, oh, well, we'll all die. That's it. That's right. We go to heaven. Maybe God wants us to learn to live after greed takes hold and destroys this country. Maybe this is what they call Revelation. Think of it. Revelation talks about famine. 7 years of famine. The Mississippi River is running dry. Maybe they're talking about troops going across the river being the United States. Has anyone ever thought about translating, or do you guys want me to do a live video where I could sit there for as long as possible breaking down bit by bit of Revelation? Or you can do it yourself. I don't care. You just tell me. But I'm here tonight to say, look, there's nothing in the news feed currently on Ukraine. They've kept it, they put a lid on it. I mean, I've gone to every site that I can think of that's global sites. They're not talking much about it. The 101st is there. French military is there. You don't see the British SAS there. You don't see the Australian SAS. You don't see the New Zealand SAS. You don't see all the other SAS divisions. You don't see anyone. You got Germany donating. You got the United States. You got Britain backing up with that new prime minister. I mean, think about it. If a country is literally going to donate money, then they should know why. Tony would want to know why we're basically funneling money to Ukraine. It's not our war. It's not England's war. It isn't Germany's war. It's not every country that's donating money is a possible target for Russia. I mean, literally, we're painting a target on everyone's back that donates to back Ukraine up. What are we trying to prevent? You know what we're trying to do? I'll tell you what we're truly trying to do, okay? This isn't about supporting Ukraine. This is about American politics. Yeah. This is about playing with American lives. German lives. French lives. You see, what they're trying to do, right, is to limit everything. You got one country wanting Ukraine. Big deal. Oh, well, we have to protect Ukraine because they might want to rebuild the Soviet Union. Really? You don't see them going into Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Ukraine. Sorry, not Ukraine. Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Nepal. They used to try to take Afghanistan. They gave up Afghanistan. That was a war they couldn't believe. The U.S. basically helped. Now, the Russians helped in everything else. It was like Russia, Ukraine, Russia. Russia helped in Vietnam to get the Vietnamese what they wanted. America suffered. Then when their Afghanistan war started from 79 to 89 or 90, we helped basically collapse Russia. Then we turned around and helped collapse the entire Russian Empire. So the entire Russian Soviet Union went down, and now it's called the Russian Federation, which is not the United Soviet Socialist Republic, but the Russian Federation with President Putin. I don't know what Putin's motive is, but I beg every one of you to prep, just because. It's not going to get any easier. I love every one of you, and I want you to prep. Get your iodized tablet, get your food, get your water, and stay in. If you have a basement, use it. Store your food, store your water. Make sure you have a toilet in your basement because you're going to be setting in your basement for a long freaking time. Watch 1983. Watch Red Dawn. Watch other movies. And just prep like your life depends on it. Why? Because it's the way it is. Think about it. The media is not talking about it. There's 13 days left till the election. I want you to think. Think. Go to your hardware store. Get batteries. Get water purification tablets. Find a place that sells iodine tablets if you don't have any. Get prepped because this is going to get bad. You know, there's people out there talking about doom and gloom, right? I'm saying be prepared. I will keep up on the news for you all. But I want you guys to prep like it's gonna. You see, Higgins turns around, right? Remember the diesel fuel shortage. Let's just say, right, Higgins is still up, okay? Let's just say, hypothetically, Higgins, right, and Zoe, and the rest of you, right? There's guys out there, right? Let me tell you what's going on. Let me tell you a favorite tactic my husband used to say. The United States is this hand, right? They're saying, look at the birdie over here. There's a diesel fuel shortage. But while only 4 or 5 places are doing it on YouTube and a few other news articles, they're saying, look over here. We got nuclear war pending in doom. But then, while they're talking about nuclear war over here, they're going, look over here. Elections, elections, elections. They're diverting your mindset from nuclear war, elections, and diesel fuel. Why are they keeping the diesel fuel shortage? Well, let's see. They sent most of the diesel over to Europe, apparently, for Ukraine and other places that need it. Our natural gas supply went down to 0 pretty much. Why? Oh, well, Europe needs it more. Why? Well, maybe if anyone thinks about it and asks deep in your heart, what's this mean? It means that Europe's more important than you, the United States citizens. You could pay through the nose with your $31 trillion. You see, the United States empire is supposedly trying to get the entire country under control. But you got Russia saying, look around. I mean, you know what? Like I said, I don't envy Russia. I don't think about Russia that often, but when I do, I think and I ask the questions. You see, we're in a country where we can ask questions, but you know what the problem is with Americans? American people are too fucking stupid. They sit there and they watch preppers that are giving them hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars a year, and they're making money. Well, I'm sitting here thinking, ask the questions. Oh, I'm a weirdo, so no one needs to watch me. But guess what? The questions are asked. Why is the United States throwing 3 different things and sweeping under Ukraine by throwing the election up and sweeping diesel fuel up? I'll tell you why. Like I've told you time and time again, prepare for something big. My cousin Dinky says, oh, enjoy the ride. There's going to be a red wave. There won't be a fucking red wave if Ukraine gets attacked. The voters are going to fucking sit there and ask. I mean, look, you got to ask yourself a question right now. One of the biggest questions in American history. Zoe didn't even ask this tonight. You know what Zoe said? Nothing. She said, oh, Ukraine is losing. Maybe, but you do know why. We're supporting Ukraine, don't you? The truth? Oh, well, because we have to. No. It's because if we don't, there's more, supposedly, of democracy on the front line. You see, you got these people, right? These supposedly, and plain devil's advocate, Republicans that sit there and say, oh, there's a red wave, we're going to win, we're going to. But, maybe. But you got so many pissed off women that's saying, you know what, I'd rather live in a world where we have a say and we females are either going to go lesbian, we're not going to put out with men that can all have blue balls, or we'll go to blue states and get ovaries and uterus removed. Then what? Then all the women in the country gets ovaries and uterus removed. Then the United States can't do anything because all their women are, what is men going to do? Rape them? And find out they can't have babies? They could choose to take out their own reproductive organs, makes a statement. Then the blacks and stuff in the southern states and the Hispanics, the African Americans could turn around. Right? They could turn around. And you know what they could do? They could turn around and pop out so many babies to make the whites look like dwarfs. But we're getting the overhead. You know why? That they're trying to keep Ukraine under check with Russia? I'll tell you why. Because if they can't, they claim Russia has got the Republicans so wrapped around their finger that they can just supposedly march in, and take our country for the Russians. Not going to happen. 2, they sit there and people say, enjoy the ride when you lose everything. I'm not worried about the fucking election. You can sit there and ask me what I'm worried about. Well, let's see. The United States is keeping diesel fuel hidden. Why? Because they don't want to panic. But the United States is not allowing much to go out in the news feeds or YouTube or any other forums. Everything else for what? For war. Think of it. Some say that Russia would be a pushover to take over. We don't know what Russia's got. But the thing is, we shouldn't be getting involved. But the United States wants to get involved because they think it's their right. Their rights. You think, oh, well, we can't do war because, you know what it is? I'll tell you. They say, oh, this is Ukraine's war. Let them have it. Fine. But here's my kicker, okay? Here's my kicker. The military-industrial complex doesn't care. They can turn out helicopters. They can turn out missiles. They can turn out bombs. As long as President Biden declares an act of war, they will go to their aid. But Ukraine's not part of NATO, so why are we getting involved? It's for political gain. Think of it. If we don't protect Ukraine, Russia will unload nukes. Thing is don't poke the Russian bear. Just be like, okay, using a nuke. Back away. Discuss things on the table. Now, if Putin says, oh, I want Romania. I want Ukraine. I want England. Then you got to wonder what he's doing. But he's not going for all the European countries. He'd run out of nukes because every country would not stand for it. If he said, I want Israel, Israel would be like, beep. I mean, literally, think about it. We don't need a full-scale nuclear war. What we need to ask yourself is why they're doing this close to the election, keeping it hidden. Because something big's coming. This isn't about the election, okay? When people say, oh, there's going to be... What if there is no election? What if President Biden turns around hypothetically and says, I'm declaring martial law, Russia bombed Ukraine, or Ukraine bombed Russia, or whatever. Then we're in the middle of it, and he can do that as national security. And I mean, think about it. The American people need to realize something coming down the pipe. But if you're too stupid and you're focusing on just one issue, election, they're also trying to keep it so they can keep funneling money to Ukraine. And they want to do it by doing what they can by saying, look at the birdie over here while we do something over here. Well, look at the birdie over here while we do something over here. Think about it. Why are they keeping everything hidden? No one knows. No one cares. They care about what's important. That is the most important thing in the world. They're trying to save democracy in their own way. You got to ask yourself, what is democracy? Can you survive? Do you think the government and the Democratic side is going to hand you a whole bunch of stuff if the country gets radiated or nuked? No. It's every man, woman, and child for themselves. So, think about it. Bottom of my heart. Each party's doing something screwy. And because I said Americans are stupid, they need to wake up and look at the thing. If you want to sit there, now I love Fanny dearly, I love Dinky dearly, and you want to sit there and say red wave, blue wave, green wave, I don't give a shit. What I give a shit about is, while you're spewing off your red wave, you're not thinking about the big picture. What if Ukraine gets nuked? Or what if Russia gets nuked? Then what? You gonna just sit there and say, oh yeah, Russia finally had it coming? That means they'll conscript every one of your child into the United States military to join. You'll be on the front lines. You'll have your sons, your daughters, everyone. What happens? It'll be World War III. We won't get out of it. So while you sit there and think it's okay for the this or that, you need to ask the biggest questions. Why are we being censored? Why is the mainstream media keeping a tight lid on it? Why is the 101st Airborne, aka the Screaming Eagles, there? And why is it the French military ground forces are there? And why is a lot of countries donating money to this war? And then you got to ask yourself, what would happen? You see, the military-industrial complex, they don't care who's in charge. All they care about is frickin' lining their pockets full of gold. So think of it. There's a war with Ukraine, Russia, China. Oh, not to mention China, for example. Let's talk about China on the last part. China's got King Xi Jinping for life. Big deal. Who cares? Doesn't affect me. I'm not Chinese. But some say, oh, well, it doesn't affect. Thing is what's happening? They're talking about a military blockade. They're talking about this. The United States could instigate using 400 or 500 tactical nuclear submarines to sink every Chinese ship that blockades Taiwan. You know, I got the perfect fucking fix for Taiwan that wouldn't lead to bloodshed. You want me to tell you what it is? The Taiwanese make the most computer chips for phones, computers, TVs, cars, you name it. And you say, oh, well, that's good and dandy, but no, I'm serious. You could turn around and say to China, you want to run the world's computer chips? Build more factories in China. Leave Taiwan alone. Well, Taiwan's our land. No, just do it this way. The United States wants to win a war against China and manufacturing so much crap. Then just pull your companies out, right? Pull your companies out and manufacture in Japan again. But Japanese companies like Nintendo and Sony were so fucking tight-waddish they sent everything to China. They went back to Japan, Japanese would get work. What if the American people turned around and said, oh, we can manufacture our own TVs, Zenith, RCA, Philips, Panasonic. Then we go and we make our TVs over here and our radios and our handheld walkie-talkies and everything, we make it better. Then what happens when China sits there and see we're making stuff? So they lose 20, 30% of their GDP, big deal, whatever, right? But what if we turned around and each country decided we don't need the other country unless we buy certain imports, right? Otherwise, what do? We can make our own can openers. But but the big businesses are too unhappy with paying the Americans' average workers. So the country is getting really crippled. Now, how's this? China's got 1.5 billion people. 1.4 billion are in lockdown last time I checked. New numbers, I guess. So, 1.4 billion people in lockdown, right? Think of it this way. You got, the United States could build 1 to 4, possibly even 8 computer chips. Computer chips, CPU processors, plants in America. You could be dominating the market because every country can make their own chips, which means we wouldn't have to be relying on a Taiwan war. Now, if China wants Taiwan, even after we built all our factories, we could start selling our chips to the highest bidder. Oh, not to mention that we can sell all our goods to other countries that don't want to make their own goods. You see, we sold ourselves for cheap labor, and now we're paying for it. So I say we build factories. That's the best thing. But Taiwan, we could wipe Taiwan or China's clock if we want to. But that's the other thing. You got a war escalating in China and Taiwan straits. You got a war escalating in possibly in Iran, which the United States is being sued apparently by Iran. I wonder how that's going to work. Iran suing the U.S. How's that work? Then, unless it's international law, then because they're saying all these bloodsheds caused by the United States, maybe, maybe not. Depends. I'll have to look into it and get back to it. And then finally, you got the Ukrainian-Russian war. So you got China. We're interfering in Iran. We're interfering with China and Russia, and we're interfering with Russia, Ukraine, and we're interfering with China and Taiwan. What's that tell you? Tells you right there. The United States, apparently the military-industrial complex went during the 1950s under Ike. He said the military-industrial complex is the most important, in his opinion, was the most important thing that would take over the United States politics, basically. He wasn't saying embrace it. He's saying the military-industrial complex is pretty much the enemy of the U.S. And what are they doing now? They want to make money on war. So they think, look, there's an Iranian war coming up. We made a killing on Iraq and Afghanistan. There's a war, China and Taiwan, and then there's a war in Ukraine and Russia. But no one is telling you the big problem. And you know what that is? That is, no one's telling you that our oil reserves, natural gas, propane, diesel, all went to Europe. Now that Biden's drained the strategic oil reserves, we can't get it like Trump did for $20 a barrel. Now we got to pay up to $70 a barrel. And OPEC's like, no, we'll refill it for you, but it's going to cost you more than $70 a barrel. It might be $120 to $250 a barrel. You see, so they know what they're doing. And yet, the American people sit there and aren't being told this. I'm telling you straight up facts. But then again, no one wants to listen to the straight up facts. They want to sit there and say, oh, well, how do you know this? Think about it. They're not talking about other news sources. They're talking about non-news sources, like, etc. You see, when the time comes, you got to ask yourself these questions. Focus on the election if you want, but ask yourself the questions. 13 days to go. Will something happen between now and election? Yeah, more likely. A nuclear bomb's going to go off. And if it doesn't, then it might go off afterwards. Any way you look at it, between now and January 3rd, you're going to have to worry. Yep, so there you have it. Think about it. Ask those questions to yourself. If you, oh, I know what's stinking. It's that rotten cabbage. There. For the rest of you out there, thanks for watching. Please enjoy your day. Just ask those questions. Why is everything coming up so before election? Why is it airborne there? Why aren't they talking about Iran? Why are they not talking about Taiwan much? Why is it all about Russia and Ukraine? And why is the media literally turning around and keeping a tight lid on what you can see while they're throwing everything out on the election? Something big's coming. And I want you guys to keep prepping like your life depends on it. Thanks for watching, everyone. And God bless. Please add and subscribe. Please post comments, leave feedback, suggestions, hit the like, subscribe button. So it's fun for your family, including your dogs, your cats, bunnies, service dogs, service bunnies. Hit the bell notification bell. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like button. And please, please subscribe if you haven't. And leave the comments nice is all we ask. And thanks for watching. And thank you for letting me give you a little bit of, letting me have a little bit of your time tonight to ask those questions. Thank you. And God bless you.